Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the weekend warm-up for the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, as always, I will be covering a load of stats during this video, so if you are looking for a specific part, you can find timestamps in the description and as a pinned comment. But let's kick things off as we always do by having a quick look back at last year's Grand Prix. And it was a race which saw a couple of first lap collisions, the first of which came between Kevin Magnussen, Stoffel Vandoorne and Daniel Ricciardo, with the Dane making contact with the McLaren, which in turn saw Ricciardo hit and spun round. But K-Mag wasn't the only Haas finding himself involved in an incident on that first lap. Just as a safety car was deployed to recover Stoffel Vandoorne's stricken McLaren, Romain Grosjean understeered into Esteban Ocon, which saw the Force India eliminated from the Grand Prix, and that was the first time Ocon had retired from an F1 race in his entire career. So that's 27 starts and 0 retirements, and that is a Formula 1 record. But the race will probably be best remembered for two stellar comeback drives. Of course, after crashing out in qualifying, Lewis Hamilton was forced to start from the pit lane, but managed to make his way back through the field to finish in 4th, and Daniel Ricciardo, who originally started 14th, but ended up last after that collision we were just talking about, made his way all the way back up to 6th place. Okay, alright, I know, both drivers had considerably faster cars in the midfield, and they did benefit from the safety car, but it still made for very interesting viewing. Valtteri Bottas took pole position on Saturday with a lap time of a 1:08.322, but it was Sebastian Vettel who took the win on Sunday after he managed to get the jump on the Mercedes into turn 1 on that first lap. Bottas did come home in 2nd place ahead of fellow Finn Kimi Raikkonen, who ended up 3rd, with Max Verstappen setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:11.044, that was on lap 64, and Lewis Hamilton was voted as driver of the day by the fans. So, for the last two weekend warm-ups, I've slotted in the title permutations to this part of the video, and seeing as there is still one title up for grabs, I'm going to do the same again this week. Now, Mercedes are hoping to secure a 5th consecutive title this weekend in Brazil, with Lewis Hamilton saying that his, quote, sole goal now is to try and win these next two races and give them that. The Silver Arrows sit 55 points clear of Ferrari at the top of the standings, and although it is mathematically possible for the Scuderia to snatch the title, let's be perfectly honest, it would need Mercedes to have at least one pretty disastrous weekend for that to happen. But here are the permutations. In order to keep their hopes alive, Ferrari must outscore Mercedes by 13 points, which, in all fairness, given that a 1-2 finish would yield 43 points and a 3-4 for the Silver Arrows only would return 27, it is far from impossible. Even so, that would still leave the gap at 39 points with one race to go, meaning that Ferrari would realistically have to finish 1-2 again in Abu Dhabi and hope that Mercedes score no more than 3 points in that season finale. I mean, a 1-3 would do it, because that's of course 40 points, but Mercedes would have to fail to score a single point that weekend. So it is very unlikely, but this is Formula 1 and you just never know. Let's have a look at the track then, and the track length is 4.309 kilometres, or if like me you work in miles, that translates to 2.677. There are 15 corners around Interlagos, 10 to the left and 5 to the right, and there will be 71 laps during the race on Sunday. According to McLaren, drivers are at full throttle for 62% of the lap, with Mercedes saying that the highest lateral G around the circuit comes in at 3.9, and that is at turn 6. There are 2 DRS zones around the circuit. The first is through turn 3 and down to turn 4, but the main DRS zone now runs from just after turn 14 all the way to turn 1, after it was extended by the FIA by 100 metres in yet another bid to try and offer up more overtaking opportunities. And in terms of those overtaking opportunities, turn 1 and 4 are obvious spots due to those DRS zones. It would be a brave driver to try it through turn 6, but we do sometimes see it. An old man alert back in the good old days. Late braking moves into turns 8 and 10 used to be a favourite of some drivers, but they do appear to be much rarer now. And perhaps drivers will still fancy a move into turn 12 before that super long run to the end of the lap. The tyres available for this weekend in Brazil are the medium, the soft and the super soft, with Hamilton, Bottas and Vettel all taking 9 sets of the red mark super soft tyres, and that is mirrored by Ricciardo and Verstappen at Red Bull, both of the Williams boys, Grosjean and Magnussen, as well as Ericsson and Leclerc. Down at McLaren it is just 7 sets of the super softs for Alonso and Vandoorne, but the rest of the grid, including the second Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen, are all taking 8 sets of those red mark tyres. When it comes to the race strategy, Pirelli aren't expecting degradation to be a major issue over the course of the weekend, and so a one-stopper is pretty much expected. In fact, Sebastian Vettel's winning strategy from last year was a one-stop, which did see him start on the super softs and then move to the soft tyre. So if we get a dry race, don't expect too many multi-stop strategies, but this is Brazil and the weather can change very suddenly. So if the rain does come, that could have a huge impact on the race and of course, therefore, the strategy. But is that rain going to come? Well, frankly, it's Brazil, so who knows? It really can just come out of nowhere. But for what it's worth, and at time of recording, the weather report, according to the Met Office, is for some rain on Friday, which could affect FP2, with around about a 70% chance of it falling. Qualifying could also be affected, with the report currently saying that there is around a 60% chance of rain. And when it comes to the race on Sunday, there is a 30% chance that rain will fall just a couple of hours before the race starts, and then that increases to 60% just 1 hour into the Grand Prix. But it is only Wednesday and the forecast could easily change a million times come the weekend. Possibly a slight exaggeration, but I think you get what I'm saying. And as I've already said, the weather is generally unpredictable when it comes to the Brazilian Grand Prix anyway. So I've put this in the video, but quite frankly, I'm not really sure how much attention we can pay to this forecast. Now, usually at this point, I would hand you over to Matt for a lap around the circuit. However, due to some unfortunate internet issues, there will be no virtual lap this week. Matt does send his apologies and fingers crossed we'll get it sorted for Abu Dhabi. So instead for this week, I'm just going to move straight on to my one to watch for this weekend. And this time around, I'm going to go for Nico Hülkenberg. Ever since his first appearance in Brazil, which of course saw him take pole position in that rain-affected qualifying session, he just seems to have generally gone well in Brazil. In fact, he very well could have ended up on the podium in 2012, maybe even winning it if things had gone his way, but of course ended up colliding with Lewis Hamilton whilst the two fought for that lead. But in recent years, he has consistently managed to pick up solid points, with him scoring in each of the last 6 Brazilian Grand Prix and has picked up points at every single race he started at Interlagos. And if you throw into that mix the fact that he arrives in Brazil in solid form, having finished 6th in each of the last 2 Grand Prix, which in turn has helped him to build a decent lead in that fight to be best of the rest, Hülkenberg is definitely one to keep a very close eye on this weekend. That is it then for this slightly shorter weekend warm-up. And what are your predictions for this weekend? Who do you think will take pole position on Saturday? Who are you expecting to win on Sunday? And of course, which driver is your one to watch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back tomorrow at 7 PM UK time for our first trial run of a live classic race watch along. And the vote for that, by the way, does close tonight at 11 PM UK time. And don't forget to join me over the course of this weekend for a full schedule of Brazilian Grand Prix content. In the meantime, though, you can follow me over on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.